Deliberations. Joining me now live in studio, one of the jurors, Paula Duncan. Paula, welcome.
Hi.
Good to have you with us tonight.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, how close, I want to know, did this jury come to convicting Paul Manafort on all 18 counts?
By one. There was one holdout.
So you all agreed on the 8 counts. The 10 others, there was one person who kept you from making that next step.
That's correct, yes.
What was their reasoning, if they shared with you?
Reasonable doubt. The person, a female juror, was, we all tried to convince her to look at the paper trail. We laid it out in front of her again and again, and she still said that she had a reasonable doubt. And that's the way the jury worked. We didn't want it to be hung, so we tried for an extended period of time to convince her, but in the end, she held out, and that's why we have 10 counts that did not get a verdict.
Is that where the note came from when you all wrote to the judge and said you had a question? The foreman sent a note and said, can you explain for us reasonable doubt or define it? Was it connected to that?
It was, and most of us did not want that question out there, but one of the jurors did. So we felt a little foolish actually sending it, but that's the way the jury works, and due deliberation and everything else required that we submit that question to the judge for that juror.
Now, Judge Ellis talked about, this is what he said about the situation. He said, I've received criticism and threats. I can imagine they would too, meaning if your names were released. If you told jurors at the advance of this trial that their names would be public, or at the outset of this trial that their names would be public, I might see some requests to be excused. And I think, certainly, I had no idea myself that this case would arouse this kind of public interest. I think I said at the outset, I now understand why, but even still, it's a surprise. He kept your names under seal because he was worried about threats to you as jurors. So why are you speaking out?
I don't feel a threat. I am an American. I'm a citizen. I feel I did my civic duty. I don't think I need to hide behind anything. I'm not afraid at all, and I thought that the public, America, needed to know how close this was and that the evidence was overwhelming. I did not want Paul Manafort to be guilty, but he was, and no one's above the law. So it was our obligation to look through all of the evidence, and there were 4 boxes, 4 paper boxes full of paper to look through.
Was it confusing? Because I know at one point there was also a question from the jury about whether the counts, the various counts, could be connected to the evidence that would be linked to them. Do you feel like there was a good job by the Mueller team in putting together exactly what leading you down the path they wanted you to get to? We
didn't want that question out there either. Most of us, when they gave us the box, it was listed what was in each folder. Each folder had a number. When you looked at your notes and looked at what witnesses were connected to which charge, it was pretty easy to connect the dots. So most of us had no problem with that.
What were the deliberations like? Was it heated? Was it?
It was. Crazily enough, there were even tears. Two of the jurors, one of the females that did finally change her vote to guilty, would come in one day and say guilty, and then the next day say, oh no, I felt pressured, I want to change my vote back. So there was a lot of back and forth with that. But finally, once again, we got out all those documents, put them in front of her, and she changed her vote to guilty again. But the one holdout would not.
Was not moving, even after the instructions from the judge where he sent you back and said, keep talking about it, I want you to give this another try. That wasn't enough to move the one. Okay, so you said you wanted Manafort to be innocent. Why?
Because even his critics said he was a brilliant man at what he did. And why wouldn't Trump want him to help with the campaign?
But you are a President Trump supporter.
I am, very much so.
So what did you think about the charges being brought against Manafort? Did you think, you said going in you wanted to think that he was innocent. Did you think they were legitimate on the front end versus what you ultimately decided on the back end?
Well, the charges were legitimate, but the prosecution tried to make the case about the Russian collusion right from the beginning, and of course the judge shut them down on that. We did waste a bit of time with that shenanigans, but yeah.
Did the president's name come up in jury deliberations? Was this politicized in any way?
It was, just because in the evidence there were references to Trump and to his son-in-law and to the Trump campaign. especially with the Steve Kalk and the pay-to-play issue. So yeah, it did come up.
Did you feel like there were jurors who were either, like yourself, pro-President Trump or anti, and that influenced their reasoning in any way?
No, I don't. I think we all went in there like we were supposed to and assumed that Mr. Manafort was innocent. We did due diligence, we applied the evidence, our notes, the witnesses, and we came up with the guilty verdicts on the 8 counts.
So the 11 of the 12 jurors, including yourself, would have convicted him on all 18?
Yes.
You saw enough?
Yes.
Okay.